When a federal investigation gets close to a multi-billion-dollar asset like LeBron James, how hard are they really going to push back on the convenient personal use defense of his two closest friends? Will they link this incredible athletic longevity to this really well-documented drug scandal from the unredacted DEA files that came out in 2023? Hell no. The history of professional sports has always been about limits, how far the human body can be pushed before it pushes back. For generations, elite athletes have followed the same arc: a rapid rise fueled by youth, a brief stretch at the peak, and then a precipitous decline governed by the laws of senescence, the process of deterioration with age that no amount of willpower can stop. In the NBA, that reality is especially harsh. The game is brutal on the body, constant jumping, hard cuts, collisions on unforgiving hardwood. Over time, knees wear down, tendons fray, and that extra burst disappears. Legends don't fall all at once. They lose a step, then another. Their minutes shrink, their numbers dip, and eventually they walk away. That's how it's always been. This is the natural order. Please take a moment to subscribe. I usually do this at the end of the video so I don't break immersion or ruin the story, but the increase of views haven't equated to an increase in subscribers. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of the video. Running alongside this story of extraordinary durability, however, is a far more troubling thread, one woven from personal connections, federal investigations, and long-sealed government records. Together, they point toward the most infamous doping scandal in American sports history, Biogenesis. In September 2023, unredacted files from the Drug Enforcement Administration's Operation STRICKOUT brought new clarity to LeBron James's proximity to the Biogenesis clinic. The documents revealed that two members of James's inner circle, Ernest Randy Mims, his longtime business manager and closest confidant, and David Alexander, his wife's personal trainer and a central figure in his Miami-based conditioning program, were confirmed clients of Tony Bosch's illegal operation. To understand the present anomaly, we must first dissect the past mechanism. We begin in Coral Gables, Florida, where the architecture of modern doping was perfected. So how did Biogenesis of America actually work? On paper, it presented itself as an anti-aging clinic. In reality, it functioned as the hub of a sophisticated performance-enhancing drug network. To understand how an operation like this could intersect with an elite athlete's inner circle while keeping the athlete himself insulated, you first have to understand the system Bosch built. At the center of it all was Anthony "Tony" Bosch. He didn't hold a valid medical license, but he had an unusually deep command of endocrinology and drug protocols. Bosch branded himself as a biochemist and ran Biogenesis not like a street-level drug operation, but like a private medical concierge for the wealthy and powerful. What set Bosch apart wasn't just access. Bosch's genius lay in his protocols. He did not simply sell testosterone. He designed cycles that mimicked the body's natural rhythms to evade detection. He utilized bioidentical testosterone creams, insulin-like growth factor, and human growth hormone to accelerate recovery and build lean muscle mass. His clientele included the creme de la creme of Major League Baseball: A-Rod, Ryan Braun, Nelson Cruz, athletes who, like LeBron James, were seeking to maintain peak performance past their biological primes. Biogenesis didn't advertise. There were no websites, no clinics bustling with walk-ins. Access was strictly referral-based, and that design choice is central to understanding how high-profile athletes could remain one step removed, access illicit substances without creating a direct paper trail. The operation depended on intermediaries, trainers, agents, and trusted members of an athlete's entourage who acted as the connective tissue between Bosch and the end user. A trusted associate would make first contact with Bosch. In return for referring clients, that intermediary often received substances for personal use or credits toward other athletes. The athlete, meanwhile, frequently never appeared at the clinic at all. Substances were delivered discreetly, payments were disguised as consulting fees or handled in cash, and whatever records existed were kept in Bosch's private notebooks, often reduced to initials or coded shorthand. The result was plausible deniability by design. If the network unraveled, the intermediary could claim the drugs were for personal use, shielding the primary asset and creating distance between the suppliers. player. This structure, intentional and carefully maintained, is essential to evaluating the roles played by figures like Randy Mims and David Alexander within the broader biogenesis orbit. The unraveling of biogenesis didn't start with law enforcement, it started with a leak. In 2013, a disgruntled former employee, Porter Fisher, turned over internal clinic records to the Miami New Times. That disclosure set off Operation STRICKOUT, a sweeping federal investigation led by the DEA. The investigation was bifurcated. It moved on two parallel tracks. Major League Baseball handled the sporting consequences, handing down suspensions to 14 players, including a full season ban for Alex Rodriguez. At the same time, federal investigators focused on the supply side, targeting Tony Bosch and his partners for conspiracy to distribute testosterone and other banned substances. For years, the narrative and the public believed that Biogenesis was strictly a baseball scandal. The case wrapped up, Bosch went to prison, and the federal files were sealed. That perception held for nearly a decade, until September 2023. Through a Freedom of Information Act request and subsequent reporting by ESPN, more than 1,400 pages of unredacted DEA documents were finally released. These files revealed that the tentacles of Biogenesis extended far beyond the diamond, reaching into the world of professional wrestling, boxing, and crucially, the inner sanctum of the NBA's most dominant figure. The records confirmed direct links between the clinic and individuals embedded in his support system. Investigators ultimately chose to prioritize prosecuting distributors rather than pursuing end users, a decision that kept much of the client network obscured. With the release of these documents, that shadowed terrain is now, at least in part, visible. To contextualize and properly frame the findings of the DEA report, it's necessary to revisit the environment LeBron James was navigating during the Biogenesis period from 2010 to 2014. This was the height of the HEATLES era in Miami, a stretch marked by relentless media scrutiny, overwhelming championship expectations, and a striking physical evolution. James transformed from a lean, explosive athlete into a 260-pound force unlike anything the league had seen. When James arrived in Miami in 2010, the mandate was clear.
Championships, not one, championships.
Not two.
LeBron, tell us about that.
Not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven.
This wasn't just bravado, it became the standard he was measured against. The physical demands of reaching 4 consecutive NBA finals cannot be overstated. It meant routinely playing more than 100 games a season, year after year. In that environment, recovery isn't a luxury, it's everything. It's within this high-pressure, high-stakes context that James's association with David Alexander, along with the ongoing presence of Randy Mims, must be examined. Randy Mims is far more than an employee. He is a central figure in what's often referred to as the Four Horsemen, the tight-knit group of James's childhood friends and business partners that includes Rich Paul and Maverick Carter. As James's executive administrator overseeing player logistics, Mims effectively runs the machinery of James's day-to-day life and has unrestricted access to James's private world. Within James's inner circle, Mims occupies a position of exceptional trust. That's what makes the DEA findings so significant. The unredacted documents explicitly name Mims as a Biogenesis client, citing him for the purchase of controlled substances. The files state that the substances were obtained for personal use, with no intent to distribute them to others. This explanation is beyond ridiculous. I don't think Randy Mims knows what the inside of a gym looks like. The idea that the business manager of the most scrutinized athlete on the planet would independently seek out an underground PED clinic for his own personal use without the knowledge of the athlete he serves is ludicrous. And let's say it was for personal use. Why would you do anything that would jeopardize the image or the relationship with LeBron by being linked to PEDs? If I was LeBron James and truly had no knowledge of Mims' PED use, I would remove him from my circle for being a dumbass, but no, he's still on the roster. Mims, a loyal and trusted lieutenant, acted as a buffer or procurer, shielding the primary asset from direct exposure while assuming the transactional risk himself. himself. The most common explanation for this anomaly is what people call the $1.5 million body. The spending is real. Cryotherapy, hyperbaric chambers, Normatec boots, personal chefs, massage therapists, the full recovery industrial complex. These tools absolutely reduce inflammation and help an athlete feel fresher. What they don't do is reverse biology. No amount of ice baths regenerates cartilage. No compression sleeve restores declining hormone levels. Testosterone drops roughly 1% per year after age 30, and by 40, a man's anabolic potential is dramatically lower than it was at 25. Protein synthesis slows. Muscle repair becomes less effective. Recovery windows stretch longer every year. That's where the merit argument starts to fray. The $1.5 million isn't just a recovery budget. It's more than enough to fund a discrete, medically supervised performance enhancement program. The uncomfortable observation isn't that LeBron has aged well. It's that his decline hasn't followed the normal downward curve at all. It looks less like natural aging and more like chemically assisted maintenance. That suspicion was given a name by Chael Sonnen, a former UFC fighter who has openly admitted to PED use. In March 2023, Sonnen made a very specific allegation.
If the world understood what LeBron did, like other basketball players will hear what LeBron does and go, well yeah, but that doesn't matter, right? It's like a baseball player. You're hitting a stick out of the way. It doesn't matter. It's like, no. If you knew what these performance enhancers did, then you would know why it does matter.
What do you think
there's only one. We have the same drug guy, if you will. I know exactly what he's doing. Big three is EPO, growth hormone, testosterone. That's the Lance Armstrong diet. Like, yes, it does matter. People will say it all the time. It doesn't matter. John Daly wanted it. It's like, it matters. Trust me that it matters. EPO matters. It's the reason LeBron takes it. It matters. And if other basketballers understood what it did, EPO increases your red blood cells, which gives you endurance so you can play all game long. You can shoot in the fourth quarter just like you shot in the fourth.
More red blood cells, more oxygen in your red blood cells. Okay, got you.
It's the king of performance enhancers.
EPO increases red blood cell production, boosting the blood's ability to carry oxygen. It's the gold standard of endurance doping, famously associated with Lance Armstrong. Why would a basketball player use it? Because basketball isn't just about bursts of effort, it's about recovery. EPO allows an athlete to play heavy minutes, bounce back quickly, and repeat that workload every 48 hours without the fatigue that typically cripples older players. It matches the observable symptoms of James's longevity almost perfectly. Sonnen never named the supplier, but that was part of the point. His claim implied an elite closed-circle distributor, a concierge-style doctor to the stars. If EPO or Biogenesis level assistance was involved, why has James never failed a drug test? This is the question defenders lean on most, but the mechanics of modern doping and the NBA's testing framework offer a plausible answer. Well-resourced athletes don't fail because they understand detection windows. Microdosing keeps testosterone levels within the normal range while still providing anabolic benefit. Fast-acting compounds clear the system in hours rather than days. Timing matters more than dosage. The NBA's testing program has long been criticized for lagging behind normal standards. Historically, it has focused more on recreational drugs than advanced bioidentical hormones. In that environment, sophisticated users don't need to beat the system, they just need to understand it. LeBron James isn't just a player, he's a billion-dollar asset to Nike, to the NBA, to broadcast partners. A confirmed doping scandal involving the league's most marketable figure would have been catastrophic. MLB was forced to confront its steroid era because the integrity of the record books was at stake. The NBA, by contrast, is built on star power and spectacle. There was no incentive to dig deeper than necessary. Once the DEA accepted the personal use explanation tied to James's inner circle, the matter was effectively closed. It was the outcome every stakeholder preferred. When DEA files became public, major outlets ran with the headline, "LeBron cleared." Very few connected the dots between referral schemes, trainers, and purchases made by people directly attached to James. That omission matters. It creates the appearance of closure without the burden of context, and leaves independent analysts to assemble the full picture on their own. There is no smoking smoking gun, but there is a mountain of smoke. The probability that the most physically dominant athlete of his generation, surrounded by people linked to PED sourcing and purchasing, achieves statistical outlier longevity through discipline, recovery tools, and red wine alone is lower than the probability that he used the resources available to him. The courts may have cleared him, but the evidence suggests his longevity wasn't a solo effort. It was a team project, and some of the teammates never showed up on the box score. Like, subscribe, share, and maybe even hype the video. Let me know if you think that LeBron's career has been enhanced. Thanks for watching.